Hello and welcome to today's webinar, A360 Team, Project Collaboration that Works the Way You Do. This webinar is brought to you by Live Lab Learning, which is a subsidiary of Academic Corp, a wholly owned applied software company created to provide world-class training. On the left side of the screen, you see a little bit about Applied Software. And Applied Software is a platinum-level Autodesk reseller, which has won many Autodesk awards for excellence. The platinum level is the highest level Autodesk reseller and is achieved by demonstrating an ability to deliver the highest level of solution expertise, service, support, and customer satisfaction. Applied Software also provides other solutions for the architectural, engineering, construction, manufacturing, and simulation markets. On the right-hand side, you'll see a sample of the training classes offered at our Live Lab Learning site. My name is Mark Mincy, and I'm delighted to be your moderator today. You can see my contact information at the bottom of the screen. I'm based in Florida, and I have many associates to serve you, whether you're based in the Southeast United States or actually anywhere in the country. I encourage you to reach out to us so that we can be your partner together, whether it be about project collaboration or any other challenges that you face. Throughout our presentation, we encourage you to interact with us by typing in questions and comments using the question panel. We will be answering the questions at the end of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be available to you online at our YouTube channel. Please take note of the upcoming sessions on the events on the screen. Again, we have Understanding Software Networking, which is describing network licensing as far as the options you get when you have a network license. The next one is InfraWorks 360. This one's oriented towards the civil. Again, InfraWorks 360 is a great tool Autodesk came up for doing preliminary design and visualization. The next one, March 24th, is Panzura, the benefits of centralized storage, and that is a great partner we've come up with as far as solutions. And it serves not only the AEC market, but anyone who has multiple offices and needs to centralize storage and as far as disaster recovery. And the last one, again, here on the screen is April 23rd. And it's very similar to what we have going on. Similar, but it's kind of related to what we're doing today. And this one's concentrated on A360, the collaboration for Revit tool. Again, I encourage you to attend that seminar as well. Again, the webinars are posted on the Applied Software homepage. Our speaker today has decades of experience working in the AEC industry using the Autodesk products. Autodesk has recognized his expertise and certified him for a number of products. And I have the pleasure to work with him on a number of customers already, and we've done quite successful. So please join me in welcoming today's speaker, Michael Zeveld.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate the kind words for the intro. As we mentioned today, we're going to be looking at the Autodesk 360 Team Project Collaboration, and it really works the way you do. So we want to get started. First of all, I want to just thank you for your time that you're here. I know you're extending your lunch period to be a part of this. So I just wanted to thank you all for taking that time to be a part of this presentation. Now, the purpose, is well stated in the name, is really to familiarize you with this Autodesk 360 Team. And basically to give you a better understanding about it. So that's our whole premise for today or for this afternoon. And from a timeline standpoint, we're only going to take an hour of your time, probably a little less than that, just going over the software, what it can do, capabilities, and we're going to get into a little QA session towards the end. But as Mark mentioned, go ahead and ask some of those questions, and he'll try to answer those, or we'll save them towards the end as we get into it. So first, what's what? What are we dealing with? What are we looking at? And there's sort of some confusion out there from a marketing or positioning standpoint, or just what people know and how things maybe change names or morph. So there's this basic, what people are used to calling just 360, and that's some online sort of storage or documentation you can put up in the cloud. And there's also what people have heard of this, 360 rendering or rendering in the cloud or something. That's an extension of sort of some of these Revit tools. And then people just hearing terms like the 360 cloud. What is that? Again, some documentation, some tools that we can store data up in the cloud, invite people to some basic collaboration. And then you also may have heard of something called A360 Revit collaboration. It's like, okay, what is that? That's sort of this another extension of Revit into the cloud and collaboration, and I think one of those next coming up webinars will focus on that. And then you've heard now this new term, 360 team. So that's taking basically the premise of the 360 of being in the cloud and collaborating and sharing information and pulling it together for multiple projects for multiple team members. And that's what we're going to really focus in on and look at today. So from a comparison standpoint, you said, well, it sounds like this 360 thing, but now you're calling it 360 team. What is that? How do those all play together? And what are we basically looking at here? So if we break that down into some kind of comparison notes here, there is this A360 and then the A360 team. And from a storage standpoint, we're looking at similar tools in the fact that there is storage 5 gig versus 10 gig. A360 from a cost standpoint is free. The A360 team does have a minimal charge to it, a $10 per member per month. Obviously, it's free to students. The difference is we can do one project versus multiple projects in A360 team, which it seems to be the case. Especially, I remember when I was doing in production work, we had multiple projects going on. And then team members specifically, there's not really in the A360, and in the team aspect there is. And you can see there's how many contributors you can have. It's unlimited for both, and kind of breaking it down, support, there's in-product basic support. So A360 is really for your specific projects, maybe multiple projects, a lot of people involved in those, and how they would potentially interact and deal with that. So what does that do from a process standpoint? What is this different, or how are we doing things comparatively to the old days? So I found this kind of interesting slide of traditional sort of drafting 100 years ago and architecture and how things would work, and kind of there wasn't much collaboration, there wasn't any emailing. These people are sort of in their own independent little silos, if you will, and not a lot of communication and who's working on what. How do I know if the guy over here on the left is working on what the guy over here on the right is, and how is stuff being collaborated in inner workings of it? So basically, this old way is gone, right? We don't work like this anymore. Everything is interconnected. People are talking to each other, and there's ways to make that more efficient, which this 360 team really ties in. And if anybody's curious, this is actually a picture from West Point, basically in the 1900s, of this drafting. And as an interesting side note, I noticed none of these guys have chairs to sit on. Wow, that's a tough way of working, right? But again, picturing the idea that they're even in the same room, but no one's communicating, nobody's talking. They just have their drawings basically, and we want to promote changing that, right? So what really is the dilemma? Taking it from that really 1900s sort of standpoint, what's the big dilemma? Well, we have projects with team members who are spread across the state, country, and world in certain circumstances. Second to that, we have a ton of different people who contribute. It's not just the architect. It's not just the engineer. We have a lot of people adding their information to these projects, and it's how do we collect it? How do we track that? This is the dilemma we're in. We have different positions. That's what I was saying of folks involved. So you even have the spec writer. We have the product folks who are putting their materials into the project. A lot of different folks that are not just the traditional architect or engineers. And there's a variety of different ways or different tools to provide the communication. Some people are emailing, some people are putting stuff in Dropbox, some people are FTPing it, some people are just including big files in an email. Some people I know still send CDs or USB drives or something. But there's a lot of different ways to to not only send that information, but when you couple that with, there's different ways of just communicating, voicemail, email, Twitter, different instant messaging, a lot of variety of ways to share this type of data. But how are we tracking it? What ways do we know that somebody said something, we can verify it, or I deleted it or something? How do we verify it? And really that means that most of this stuff is very informal. It's disconnected. There's no tie-in or direct relationship to those to my project. So we need to, the desire is to keep track of these conversations, these activities, the different decisions that are made, so we can go back and say, hey, they decided to do this a long time ago and weren't going to charge me on my project. We want to be able to track that. We want to be able to pull this stuff up in a nice and easy way that's understandable to us. Basically bringing it all together. We want all this stuff, all this information, all this data. Could be spec sheets, could be just the construction documents, it could be revisions, it could be the actual AutoCAD or Revit files themselves, it's the emails, it's the different discussions and different snapshots and pictures and images. We want those all pulled together. And so we feel that Autodesk 360 team does that, but we still don't really know or what that is, and we want to convey that to everybody. So really what it does, this 360 team, it really enables us and project teams to work efficiently together in really one centralized workspace. That is breaking it down about as simple as it can be as far as what its functionality and information does. So let's take that a step further. So we're able to work together. There's mobile apps that we can view our information on. iPhone, iPad, tablets, web-based type tools, and we can actually track this information collaboratively. So if somebody makes a change or somebody makes an edit or a modification, we're there and we can actually see what's going on with that. It's easily to see what's happening overall. So let's take a look at this 360 team tool. And I have on the top here this website, which is where the sort of starting point is, if you will, for learning more about it, but also accessing, logging in the information is basically the starting point. So going to this website, the Autodesk360.com, we can learn a lot about it, and that might be a homework for everybody. Is go in here after this webinar to find out a little bit more about it. Just learn some more so you understand it. But this is really this sort of starting point, if you will. So we can actually do a little trial of 360, or which I've already have set up, is basically gives me the ability to come in here and sign in to a specific project. So if I click on that sign in button, it's going to launch into my 360 team account or project, and it's going to show kind of my dashboard of existing projects, activities, different things going on. And I think one of the first things that might be helpful is, hey, I want to start a new project. If you're going to go from this webinar and say, I want to do this and start a new project and see how this sort of interacts, this is sort of the first steps. So up here in the upper right corner, there's a Create button. So if I go ahead and click on that Create button, it's basically going to bring up some options for me to make a project, send some messages, a variety of different things, where I can basically say, okay, I would like to create a project. So if I click on that project button, it's going to bring me to this interface. Say, okay, what's your project? What's your name? This is some of the stuff's pretty basic in here, but I'm going to call this project Rebirth. It's basically a building addition and renovation. And who's involved in this project? Now, I'm technically already logged in as a user and have set up a basic Autodesk account, so I'm in here. But I'm also assigning, this Fred, my designer, is going to be part of this project, and just basically tell it, go ahead and create this project for me. So it's going to go through a process, set up some stuff on the backside. Then it's going to send me an email basically saying this project's been created, you've been invited to join, or even Fred over there will get sent the invite, say, hey, you can now join this. No worries if the person is not have an Autodesk account or this 360 team account. It will ask them to go ahead and create it. That part is free. That part is easy, and kind of go from there. So we're able to get into this process of setting up a project. Now you could click on that little access the project button here and launch into it, or this invite, as I said, may have went out to somebody. But once I circle back into my project or that specific project that was selected, it's actually going to bring up the dashboard that's associated with my project. So either now when I come into the project, I can just click on one of those initial icons I had, or click on that email link, and it's kind of showing this overall dashboard about the project. And you can see some sort of project members, who's invited here, any activities. There looks like some featured documents in here that is important, maybe some recent activities. So we're going to navigate through this just to give you all an understanding what's involved with this team, our A360 team. So in my project here, I may want to decide, I need to add some information. It's sort of an empty project at this point. So we have this option in here on the right that's basically saying, hey, we can upload some data. I want to upload my CAD files. I want to upload my Revit model, spec sheet, cut sheets, documentation, images, whatever it may be. I'm basically putting into this 360 team, allowing me access to this anywhere, anytime, any location, any computer. I'm not restricted for it just to be in the office. Now, a lot of people all of a sudden get nervous with this and start thinking, oh, wait a minute, well, what about security? What about getting hacked or different stuff like that? Well, the A360 team and all of the cloud-based tools that Autodesk have are built off the GSA requirements based off of the government security. So across the board, in most cases, people feel like, okay, if it's good enough for the government security level, it's good enough for us. And a lot of people have steered away from this type of online tool from a security standpoint because of that, or saying, hey, I'm working on certain projects that don't allow us to do that. So from the security standpoint, that is covered. You can still access your information and be very secure. So, all right. I don't know if Mark was mentioning something or saying something there. Anyways, so when I select then to upload, it gives me a little dialog box, gives me the ability, what do you want to upload? We can select our files, we can drag them in here. But what's kind of unique about this is if I select some files and basically expand this out. So here we're looking at dragging some files in there. I'm uploading this rebirth file, and it's going to take a little bit of time or whatever. But I can also expand this out and give some description about this particular file. And this is good for searching and sort of other elements to find that file. So here I got this file uploaded. I can enter some description and data and information associated with it. All right, so now we're starting to collect some information. It tells me I got my project created. I've added some information, but let's sort of navigate around to see what's available in here. What else can we do in this 360 team? And I sort of highlighted this area that it kind of gives us a sort of drill down about additional elements within here. So looking at first, there's some stuff about the project as far as the A360 team. And if we click into projects, it actually pulls up a little flyout that tells me, here's some of your other projects. Maybe you want to jump to another project. You got a lot going on. We can actually click onto these other projects, access those. So, for example, if I clicked into this rudder pedal project, it's going to actually launch into that project. And you can see it's actually switching up some sort of visual information. It's showing me a little logo that we had uploaded for that project, putting the name, and now I'm starting to see some context and information about that particular project. And down in here you can see some of the different files listed out in here, and this is kind of moving us into this next portion, which is the data aspect of this. So here it's actually listing some files that are associated to that particular project. Now we can upload additional files to here, we can do some modifications, we can view those particular files as well, and we'll probably circle back to that here in a second. But kind of continuing through that, if we look at who are the people associated with my particular project. So you see I got, you know, two or three people on this project. We can really control who has access to this and basically what they have access to as well. So you can see myself as a moderator. I have actually my alternate email in there for a project member, and so we can set up different people as certain access to it. They can just be viewer, they can be a moderator, they can be a project member, they can be the admin for this as well. So it really, you know, from a control aspect, who we want to include, or also maybe who we don't want on the project anymore. Maybe they've moved on to some other things, or maybe they've just left the company or the project we're working. We can remove those out, so there's no loose strings out there, and who has access to what. So we can quickly come in, who's been in here, what they've been doing, what access level they have, making it very easy to see who's involved and what they potentially could be doing. All right, we also have a calendar feature in here to really start to sort of track what's going on, and using this as a project-specific calendar, which, you know, I've seen a lot of people make separate calendars or write out different stuff or notepads, or even try to incorporate something into Outlook, which can get very muddy and very confusing. Well, this has the ability to have its own calendar just associated to project-related information, and giving us this ability to add specific events associated with the project. So basically, I clicked on a date there, pulls up some information. You know, I'm going to create this as this 90% project review, set it effective for the 2nd of February, 10:30 in the morning, and gonna submit that. Now, this is going to go out to all the project members, and you can see asking for an RSVP, little checkbox there to let them know, you know, this is what we're doing. I need to have some feedback from you. But then in the lower section there, I have some choices to include or not to include with them, as far as what feedback or what they can actually do to it. You know, if I wanted them to copy this or invite other people, there's a checkbox there that I can do that. So I can actually exclude that, so I don't have that anybody else being included in there as well. Once I'm happy with that, we can just go ahead and post it, and that will get sent out to everybody. And then I'll actually put that into a calendar, events in the calendar itself, but also off to the side, which is what this little image is showing here. So this is going to list out all of the activities that are sort of up and coming related to my project. But the nice thing about this, that event that we just sent out actually gets sent out a nice little email notification to the team members and that are on this project, and it's letting you know, hey, for this particular rebirth project, you know, I'm sharing this specific event type, title, where and when it's happening, that kind of stuff. And there's also a confirm button in here that they can actually say, yes, I am going, I do it, you know, I'm going to be there, so we get kind of a status of who's included. But then also, you see in here, and this may be not that noticeable or potentially important, but it's this ICS file. This is what Outlook reads for their file types to add an appointment or a calendar event on their side. So if you are using Outlook at the office and want this to also be included in your Outlook calendar, you can basically click on that, open up, and it will put it into your regular, you know, work Outlook calendar. So you'll sort of have it in both places to sort of manage and monitor that as well. But again, these are only going out to the folks who are on the team, who are involved in it, and I don't have to click, you know, through my contacts list to see and find out who's on the project and forget somebody. So that way of centralizing everything together so everybody's on the same page. All right, so here's just a view back in the calendar. You can see I have some of the, in purple there on the calendar, the project review I talked about, and then you can see the events listed on the side. So it's a nice little snapshot when you first come into your project, you know, looking at the calendar, what do we have going on? It's very clear what significant benchmarks or dates we have included. And then actually if I click on that event, it actually pulls this up, and I can actually make some comments associated with it, kind of like some of our social media. I can associate a file with it, tag it, make some commentation in here, share with the folks involved. So just a really good, nice way to communicate, share this type of information, keeping everybody coordinated, because that's what it's all about. I mean, I can't tell you how many projects we've been involved with where we just struggle to keep the basic lines of communication open. And this is tying everything together for us. Also in here, when you talk about circling back to this data piece I mentioned, here's where we can actually open up one of our files. So whether it's a PDF cut sheet, an AutoCAD file, whatever it is, we can actually open up this viewer. So by selecting the model, this is a Revit RVT model. Okay, it actually opens it up and allows us to sort of view and look at the model, telling us when it was uploaded. Do I have any comments about it? You know, what's going on? And then there's some basic navigation tools down here at the bottom. Just blow them up for us. That allows us to spin this and to move this and to circle around, to even walk. So these little shoes are here for to walk and navigate around, do some camera shots, and do some different sort of viewing and orientation to this. Now, I have a little video I can show that I just did some pre-recording, because sometimes things coming across the web have a challenge to it. Just at the same time, I'm going to try to show that I'm going to open up that file as well. I'll give it a second here. So if we look at, let me just jump to that, so we'll see if it comes through. Here's just another piece to that while this other item is waiting to load, is I can orientate to different views. You can see in the upper corner there, we have this cube that allows us to spin and to select different orientations and views. And you can see this is looking at the right side, whether that's north, south, east, or west. And I have this set up in a shaded view so I can see, hey, my building, the orientation, what's going on. But if I click on an object in here, you know, I just select the wall, for example, I click on that wall, it's going to bring up this listing or this properties about that object, tell me some information about it. You know, first of all, this is telling me, you know, the level it's associated with, the type of wall it is, the unconnected height with it. So this is just publishing information from the Revit model itself, right? And so if we were changing the model, we want to republish that, if you will. But we're getting the ability to basically see what's sort of going on about some different components. And I wanted to share this with you all. Let me, I'm going to pull this across. This is a live view of the same project, you know, I'm been showing you. Let me just maximize this so we can see a little bit better. So this is just full screen to be able to see this stuff. And I'm just letting the, sometimes the web takes a second to catch up, pushing this image across the wire, if you will. But here I can, like I said, basically select different elements, making sure it's highlighted. I'm just selecting that wall in the upper in the corner here, right-clicking, you know, giving me some information about it, but also then selecting that properties information, which I was just talking about, telling me some information related to that. What else I thought was is pretty unique about this is there's this explode tool in here, which I can take this slider and start to pull apart and expand out my building. I'm definitely going to let the my view refresh and catch up with that, but I'm able to expand apart my building. And you might get to a point you're like, it is totally exploded and, you know, looks like a, you know, deconstruction type thing. But what that allows me to do is really to see into this building and look at different stuff, and maybe come down here in this lower right corner or lower corner and select this door and get the properties about that, and it tells me some information. Tell me the material, the frame type, the mark, that it's a new construction door, the head height, that kind of information, you know, associated with it, and basically, you know, pull the building all back together. So some different ways to view and to navigate in here. Again, doing some different spin orientation. And then also what we can do is pull up another kind of just overall model browser down here. It almost looks like a network, tree network sort of thing. But I can start to expand this out and look at, okay, what's involved in here? You know, just tell me all the walls. And again, this is all published from Revit, right? So if I said, well, tell me what has the basic walls in here? And I got to let the system catch up a little bit, but it's graying out everything else, but identifying what it's considering this basic wall type in here. Or here, for example, if I say basic walls, let me expand that out and say here's a plumbing chase wall. Just move this over, let the screen sort of catch up. That wall is a wall, a basic wall category, and is a generic plumbing chase wall. So we can quickly identify that, get some information about it, maybe the properties we sort of spoke about, or even coming into, here's some doors, show me some single flush doors. Again, waiting for it to kind of catch up. So here it's giving me some feedback, some data, if you will, about this, which is relatively easy to basically just collect up on and see what's sort of going on with the project itself. Now there's some other navigational tools in here to place some different cameras, zoom into some different areas, really navigate around this this building to sort of see what's going on and just explore and find out what's going on in there. And again, that's just a view within the model itself of what we've have uploaded. But you can see here there's actually some tools here to download this, maybe to share this out with some folks, or also just comment on here. I put a comment in here, looks good, let's verify the brick finish. Okay, so that's tracking, that's getting sent and notified to all members of the team that we're really able to sort of track, verify, and see what's going on within our project overall. And when I close that, it brings me back to the model itself. Now what I also did is uploaded some CAD-related files. See, we can't really ever get away from CAD completely. So this is sort of a live and real as you can get. I basically just clicked on that, and it's opening up the CAD model associated with that. So this particular project had more of a design in CAD first, and it was built into a Revit model. But here you can see we can actually list out the different layers, turning on and off layers, identifying stuff, kind of going through that whole series, turning on different elements, right, or reloading the overall model, or even getting into properties. So if I select this area, probably a hatched area, when I select this panel here for the properties, it actually is listing that out, telling me some information about it, plot style, hatch pattern, that kind of stuff, which is great feedback because there's other file types we can use. It's not all just sort of BIM-centric, and being able to refresh that, or even I guess I could maximize it, gives me a better sort of context in here, and showing us what's going on. And again, some camera shots, camera move related type elements. So I really wanted to go through and sort of show you some of those pieces in here so you can see what's going on. And let me just jump back over to here. So that was my little sort of animation in here, but would rather have shown you that live anyways. So in continuing talking about this, the big picture, what all the 360 team can do for us, we look at kind of these bigger sort of buckets. We're able to share the information. We're able to view it in again, in any 2D or 3D format that you saw we were able to show. But it can actually view 100 different file formats when we come into this. And so that really, I mean, probably everything you can imagine, but also giving us the ability to search and filter down and to dig into this information a little bit better. But overall, that big communication piece that we've been talking about. Now, it is available on any device. Obviously, I'm running this through a computer, but it is the web-based portion of it. But we're able to use this entire thing to run the project, manage the team members wherever we are. So whether it's on any kind of device, an iPad sort of device, we can access that, which is really expanding this out. So even thinking it's in the process of being built, you're out in the field, you're looking at this information, you're commenting, sharing, looking at stuff, and just keeping stuff coordinated. Or like in many cases, the design folks are in an office in another town and you're in another one, and you're able to keep information all coordinated and tied together. And mentioning the any device thing or any file format, I mentioned the 100 different file formats. That's impressive. For one, that we can view not only the Revit model in this web-based viewer, but also the CAD version of the stuff and be able to zoom and pan and look around and make some commenting type stuff on there. That's essential and critical to this overall whole process. And as I said, any device, tablet, iPad, iPhone, is really going to depend on how you need to zoom in here and look at stuff, but it's really limitless as far as where and how you can access this information. And like most of these, you can download it from Google App Store or the Apple Store or something to get access to that. So if I pull this back on here to sort of recap, one area that I didn't get into and I wanted to show you, which I think is actually pretty helpful, is this Wiki area. So if I click onto that Wiki page, this is a way internally to have some back-end information about the project. So whether it be just knowledge-based information, maybe design decisions, it could even be like some BIM guidelines. So I actually put some Wiki stuff in here talking about, as this opens up, give it a second, the model ownership and who owns the model, who's in charge of it. So this is more of our standards, if you will. Who's in charge of the model. After the completion of the project, data is getting pulled back. So I'm actually incorporating some of our BIM or CAD standards in here, talking about BIM roles and responsibilities. And the nice thing about this is people have the ability to comment, make form opinions, share different data, a lot of different stuff. And I have them tagged as far as ownership for this particular one, because it deals obviously with ownership. And some of these other ones, if I wanted to, maybe look for that, just since we were just in there, ownership. I'm searching for that. It should run through here and tell me this is the document or the file that has an ownership tag associated with it. So just like we do on the internet, we go out and search for things. This is actually pulling this in, and now I could actually view that in my particular project. But it's not just data as far as typing out different stuff. There's actually some documents and document links in here. So this BIM guidelines, I'll give you a second to open here. Okay, this is some of the data. Let me go back to the main project title. On there was this featured document. So I loaded it in there, but I highlighted it as this featured document. And that is really the overall governing, at least how I'm using it in this case, is the overall guideline. So this is basically a PDF, but it's a link to this BIM guidelines that I can view in this embedded mode, if you will, and kind of let the things kind of catch up here. But it talks about the BIM execution plan and different stuff. So what I'm trying to convey here is how we can really collaborate and collect a lot of data, a lot of information associated with this. As a team member, I have the ability to download this. I can look at some different actions here, move, copy, delete, upload a new version, so it actually will sort of track that for me. So here, this is the only version in here, but it would actually list out the different versions of this particular document, and still giving us all the ability to track and to see, sort of what's going on in here. So I really love that that feature in here. And as I said, when you first come into your project, you get this sort of big picture snapshot looking at what's going on, who's in the project, what activities have happened. I actually uploaded a rendering logo basically that's associated with that, so that's what that's sort of showing there. But really what just all activity in different elements are are happening in here. So whether it's an image or updating calendar stuff, I also put in here, so when we go into this create button, there's actually some other pieces that we could get into. So I could actually build a poll, and in this poll, this is a poll. I wanted to ask or get opinion from folks involved in the project if they think this particular project complies with our current BIM standards, and get some feedback. So maybe there's something documentation-wise or something else. And again, I'm just using this as an example for you to be thinking about. Maybe it's the design. Hey, what do y'all think about the canopy out front? So here, we're getting opinions, and this is based on the current BIM standards. Yes, it does, but I'd like to see a better way to track and check those standards or whatever. So there's just different ways to share a lot of data, a lot of information. The great thing about all this, it's all in the cloud. We don't have to worry about servers and backups and saves, or to say, hey, I'm working on site today, or I'm working remotely, or part of our team is dispersed, and I want to be able to get in here and really take a look at stuff, but not worry about being disconnected or the slowness of our network. This has given us the ability to really come through here. So I wanted to kind of give us the big picture and be able to see what the Autodesk 360 team looks like, and spend the last couple minutes here before we totally wrap up, maybe 10-15 minutes here, looking if there's any questions, if there's any other maybe areas or something we want to ask. And so, Mark, I know you've been kind of watching behind the scenes there. People have been asking some questions in there. If you had any questions, I'll turn it over to you and see what we can go and answer.
Very comprehensive and showing us all things. Now, we do have one question, but I do encourage anybody who does have a question, please type that into the question.
Well, Mark, you sound a little choppy there. Maybe you can try to get your audio back.
Yeah, okay. I think, am I back now? Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, there you sound. Sounds like you now.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened, but again, if you have any questions, please type that into the question panel. But James did have a question for you. It says, can you view a floor plan within the Revit model or just the default 3D view?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Because we have the full model, that is what's uploaded. That little view cube that was in the corner where I had actually selected and did a right view, which is a elevation view. If we would have picked the top view, it would have showed it as a floor plan orientated view, but still in the live Revit model. So I think to answer his question, yes, we can view it in a plan view, but also what I would probably lead into or want to do as a team member is I would probably upload the construction document, set like a DWF or a PDF of the actual, floor plan printed out on a title sheet or something to see the construction documents. So I know it's sort of expanding the question, but yes, it can orientate and view that information. It's a great question.
So we don't have any other questions. Again, so I'm still encouraging folks, again, please type your questions in. Mike Zeville will love to answer your questions.
Another question I usually get from people, and I think I had a slide that mentioned it earlier, is just overall pricing. How expensive is this? Other products I've seen out there base it on the size or the cost of your project that you're working on or building or something. And so I just wanted to throw this up here that it is a very cost-effective tool. And what I suggest, you can purchase it kind of just online, but you can also circle back and locate a reseller. So somebody like ourselves with Applied Software, and contacting Mark Mincy, who's been hosting this as well. We'd love to be able to discuss that and get that information to you as well.
So Z, we have another question for you. David has a question. We don't use Revit, but may use MAP, Microsoft Office, etc. Can the 360 forum work as well for uses beyond Revit?
It definitely. So especially with this, the 360 team, that's why I wanted to pull up a AutoCAD file or multiple file formats that we can view. So just like I pulled up a PDF, pull up an AutoCAD file, it can view 100+ file formats. So unless it's something very obscure, it should be able to open up those different file formats and different types, allowing you to view that. I don't know. It should be able to view all those different documents. So you shouldn't have a problem viewing. If not, I've known folks who said, well, this is a odd file format. Let me save it as a PDF and then upload it or something. But ultimately, you should be able to really use any file format. It's not CAD or Autodesk specific products. Obviously, those work well and play well together with this, but not limited to just those products.
David has a follow-up question. Beyond viewing documents, are documents editable?
So it's just a viewer. You're not going to natively edit that. You're still going to use your design software like a CAD, Revit, or whatever it is to make those edits and changes. This is to share those documents out to folks, to get feedback, to keep collaboration going. Obviously, I actually uploaded the native AutoCAD DWG file and the native Revit RVT file, so folks are able to then download that if we've granted them access as a team member, that they could then take that and edit it there. But this A360 team is really to view, collaborate, comment, make decisions, if you will. And if there was some editing to be done, they download that to the native software. So it could be a situation where we're viewing, looking at the Revit model, making comments, and then really decide from there, well, whose role really is this? Is this the person who uploaded it, or me who's viewing it should take on those changes? So I think that would be a part of the collaboration component to say, I'll download it, let me make those edits, and then re-upload it, and it will track the latest one that you put up there. It's a great question. Those are great questions.
So I don't have any more questions as of now. I know we still have a few more minutes before our hour's up. And so if you have any questions, you can feel free to type those in, and Z will answer those for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, if there's no more questions, we'll wrap this up. But again, we want to make sure we're here to answer questions while it's fresh on your mind. So if I don't see any questions, in the next 10 seconds here, we're going to wrap it up and make sure you guys get back to work and have a fruitful day. Oh, we did have one person that did say thanks for having the presentation. So good job, Z.
I appreciate that. Maybe you want to tell them a little bit about some of the live lab or YouTube stuff here?
Sure. Okay, so before we finish this off, again, so if you haven't already, you can search for Live Lab Learning on Facebook and like our page to receive the latest information and special offers. When you visit our website, again, livelablearning.com, there is a complete schedule of upcoming training and future informational webinars and tidbits and software updates. Again, also you can go to the Applied Software homepage, and again, we just added another webinar on there that I didn't list earlier, but again, another webinar on February 19th discussing AutoCAD Map. And I'm going to check one more time for questions, and I don't see any, so we're going to wrap this up. Again, thanks for joining us today. We hope you found this webinar informative and helpful to your business.
Thank you, everybody.